Hey y'all, John here. Today we're going to talk about my Tesla Model 3 performance and how I have started renting this car out on Turo. So I've had this Tesla Model 3 for 2 years now. I paid $48,000 for it. Yeah, that's a lot for a 2018 performance, but that's what it was worth back then. Now it's lucky to be worth $20,000. Now, it's not just my car that's depreciated like that. Teslas across the board have lost anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 in the past, I would say 6 to 12 months. It's that bad across the board. People that paid, let's say, $60,000 for a Model Y, now they're at best worth $38,000 on the auction market. It is that bad. I hate to say this, but I'm guilty of buying a car every year and a half. And when someone tells me that, yeah, KBB says my car is worth this much, you can't really trade it in unless you have that much money down to buy a new car. I'm like, yeah, I'll probably just keep it. So my first conclusion was, yeah, just keep it, keep driving it. But of course, on a Tesla, you have to charge it. So I've used the supercharger network. It's nice, but in the wintertime, I get max about 75 to 100 miles of range. And honestly, I don't like waiting 10, 20 minutes and going out of my way to charge the car all the time. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start renting out the car on Turo, and I'm just going to explain my experience with this. So again, the car's been on Turo for about 2 months. So far, so good. My first trip on this thing was, I basically had to deliver it to St. Paul, drop the car off with some guy I didn't know. I'm like, I had an attachment to the car then. Now I just really don't care. But again, I've made about $2,500 in 2 months, and it's paying off the car. So now my idea is that I'm gonna have it on Turo, and then I'm gonna do basically double payments. So I'll be paying my standard minimum monthly payment through Turo, and then add more money on top of it just to double that up and pay off my car, hopefully more than twice as fast, just so I can get it out of the way. And then from there, I'll decide whether I'm gonna keep it on Turo or if I'm just gonna start building a fleet of Teslas. But I'm just gonna explain to you my experience, and we'll go from there. Now, I'm a 22-year-old guy. We like fast cars. The Model 3 was nice when I first got it, but honestly, I'm better off driving a Subaru STI or some other gas car. I like hearing my exhaust. This car is only good from like 0 to 60, and after that, it just falls off. It's like, it works. But another thing that threw me into this car was the fact it's reliable. I had an Audi S3, I had to pay $10,000 just to put a transmission in. It was crazy, but the dealership that basically sold it to me sold it with a bad differential, and of course the dealership didn't pick up on it. So it goes from $3,000 differential to $10,000 because you have to order everything in from Germany. So this is actually my second Model 3. My first Model 3 was a rear-wheel drive, and then I threw myself into this one because it's an all-wheel drive, it's a performance. You would think, hey, this car is gonna be nice and fun, you can throw it in corners and do all that crazy stuff. You don't have to worry about it breaking. And that is true, but honestly, linear power is fairly boring. We all like throwing gears. I still honestly miss driving a 6-speed manual, but not getting that in electric, so it is what it is. Okay, first things first, I'm gonna tell you, if you have an attachment to your car, please do not do this business. You're gonna have renters scratch into your car. You just have to expect that. You can't ask insurance to cover every little thing that happens to your car. Keep that in mind. Moving on. So, I have had renters basically curb rash my wheels as they're dropping it off. It is what it is. I honestly used to have 20s in this car, and I switched them over to 18s because, again, weight savings, and EVs use more power when you have heavier wheels on them. And the wheels in the roads in Minnesota are really bad, so it's easy to bend and basically destroy those wheels in this state. But anyways, something that I've seen with a lot of Turo drivers and that are new is that they get confused on the insurance piece. Turo is not insurance. It is a protection plan. Keep that in mind. If you are driving a car, if you have a car that's strictly for Turo, make sure you have a commercial insurance policy. So when it's not being driven, you still have coverage. For me, when I first started, I was on Tesla insurance, and funny enough, my premiums actually went down when I had other people drive my car because they drive better than me. My insurance company thinks I'm a dickhead, so I'll give you that. My car's on commercial insurance now because I basically don't drive it. I actually bought a second car because it's been renting out so often and I need to go to work. So there's that. Turo, basically their protection plan works like this. So I am set on the 75% plan. So I get 75% of the earnings and the other 25% goes to Turo. So if, let's say something else happens, someone scratches my car, totals it, whatever, they get their cut. I'll probably attach a screenshot of what the protection plan includes and how much coverage it has, but that's how that works. Again, Turo is not insurance. when your car's not being driven, honestly, I would say always have a backup policy just in case. You never know what can happen. So the main two Turo insurers that I know of that support ride sharing are Lula and ABI. I'm on Lula. I think it's about 80 bucks a month or so for commercial use. I get 300 miles of driving on that. If I'm driving personally, honestly don't drive this car anymore, so it's fine there. So now the biggest thing, storage. So for me, I used to store my car in my condo's garage, but I had a 6-hour turnaround. I was at home all the time, so it worked out for me. I'd easily be able to get my car charged and washed before the renter arrived. So it worked out really well. But now that I'm in the office, I'm not even close to home. I need my car at a storage facility that is always charging it, and I'll wash it once and just leave it there. So what I've decided to do is find a parking garage in downtown Minneapolis, and I leave my car there. It's always plugged in. I wash it beforehand, so if someone does want to pick up my car, it gives me a 2-hour turnaround window, so it lets me know, hey, someone wants your car, I just approve it, they pick it up, I unlock it remotely, and then they drive from there. I don't have to be physically there. It's fully hands-free. It's all remote, so it works out really well for me. Now, not every city will have those options with free electric charging as long as you pay for a monthly membership, but I got lucky, and it works for me. I wish I was doing that when I was working in downtown, but I didn't, so yeah. Honestly, the biggest thing on a Tesla that you have to worry about with maintenance, you are going to chew through tires. I have 2 sets. For safety of my guests, I run summer tires, so they are not losing grip anywhere in the summer. And in the winter, I throw on snow tires. So I think I have Cooper snow tires. I'm probably gonna switch over to Blizzaks, but the Coopers do work really well. So that, I just honestly just take it to Discount Tire. They swap the tires for me. I have 255s all around, so I don't care how fast they're going. They never lose grip. It works out for me. Great tires, keeps guests safe. And then in the winter, 235s all around. Those are snows. They work. No slippage unless you're doing something stupid. So there you go. Other than that, battery doesn't blow up. The brakes honestly never get used unless they're doing something crazy, because we have regen on Teslas, and you might have things like, oh, I have to change an air filter for the cabin, or yeah, small stuff, nothing crazy, no oil changes, so that's great, pretty low maintenance. So now, data. I love data. So whenever someone enters my car and starts to drive, I get a text message saying, hey, Baxter has left this location. So I know that a drive has started and I know what it ends. So I can see how fast they're going, where they went. I can see efficiency ratings. If they're going over 100 miles an hour, I can just see it. I honestly have that off so it doesn't text me when someone goes over the speed limit. I honestly do not care. Do not crash my car, and we're good. Okay, that's it. But basically, I see start and end data. The main thing is efficiency. I want to see how efficient the car is doing, and then I also want to see when they plug it in. And then, of course, all this data goes back to when I first bought the car, so it is good. And also with Teslafy, it tracks my battery report. So every time someone charges the car, it logs that cycle in there, so I can go back and see how my battery has degraded over time since I purchased the car. So I may attach that. You're probably seeing it already. I don't even know why I'm saying it, but there you go. Another thing, gas cars on Turo, sometimes, I'm not trying to put fear in anyone's head, but sometimes people will try to return them late, or they try and run away with them. With the Tesla app, there's something called, I think, pin to drive. So if someone is not returning my car on purpose, I turn on that and look at that as a kill switch. As soon as that pin to drive turns on, even if you have the key card, you are not moving the car unless you have the pin. And if someone's going over 110 miles an hour, I put it in something we call valet mode. So basically slows the car down, locks it. They can't go, I think, over whatever speed limit I set. I'll probably attach that. There's multiple different modes. There's even a built-in dash cam that's always running. So let's say, God forbid, someone gets into an accident. I can go back and see that footage and then send it to insurance. But again, God forbid, that should not happen. And of course, we have something called gap insurance. So, but don't always want to rely on that, but it is an option if needed. So there is that. I guess you don't have an attachment to your car and you have a car that's basically sitting inside that you don't know what to use it for. So if you want to do Turo, first thing you should do, make sure your car is clean, make sure you have all the maintenance done. There should be nothing left. If you have tires that are bald, replace them before you even think about giving it to someone else. You have to make sure that your renter is in the utmost care when you're giving a car like that to them. Also, photos. I've seen so many hosts that have like iPhone photos that are crooked. Find a photographer that will take professional photos for you from every single angle of the car, inside and outside. Also, look at this as your documentation for before insurance. Yes, Turo requires you to take photos before and after trips, but look at this as your master copy of this is how my car was before, a snapshot, if you would call it that, before I started renting it, and this is how it is after, just so you have a reference. If there is a little scratch on my car, I can look back at those photos and be like, the photos I took of my A7 IV, I can zoom in, see if that existed before I even started renting. So keep that in mind. That is super important. When I first started Turo, like the first time when I was just bored and I just wanted to try it out, I took phone photos. Nobody rented because it's like, there's no effort in it. But when you take the time to present your product effectively, that will do its own marketing on its own. You don't have to worry about marketing anywhere else. Just make sure that your car is clean, maintained correctly, and if you have great marketing media, I promise you, your car will rent as long as your price is right. Another thing, pricing. In my market, honestly, Teslas are going anywhere from $60 to $80 a day. Guess where I'm at? $130 a day. But I got a catch for you that will bring people in. When people rent my car is already fully charged and they don't have to pay for supercharging. Other renters that are charging $60 to $80 a day, guess what? You'll charge their Tesla and then they'll back bill you on it. I don't do that. I say if you basically rent my car, gas is free. I don't care when you drop it off, or I'll give you a mileage limit, like 250 miles a day. If you're renting out for 4 days, you can add that up. There you go. But there's free supercharging. So that is the main thing that gets people in. If you compare that to a gas car, if you go to, let's say, Enterprise or Hertz, you're getting that, whatever car you get, your Corolla, your Camry, you're getting that, you add all the fees, and then on top of that, you have to fill tanks of gas. If you're driving far distance, what is that, $50 to $100? I remember the one time I rented out a Tiguan, I was pissed because I had to buy gas. When people rent from me, they pick up the car, drive it, charge it whatever, drop it off, and there's no extra charge. What they see at the beginning is what they see at the end of the trip. As long as you do not crush my car or scratch it or do anything crazy, we are good. So just consider that with the Tesla. If you have free level 2 charging, if you have that in your area, in your garage, please use it and just market it that, hey, if you rent from me, you get free gas. You don't have to worry about random bills. I have looked at my competition and people are confused like, oh, why do I have an extra $60 of charging expenses? You should let people know that before you gave them the car, you know, just so they can figure that out. But that helps me stay at 130. Also, there's multi-day discounts. So let's say if, I think it's up to 10 or 15%, should be on screen by now, of how I have it set up. Delivery to the airport is like 75 bucks. Honestly, that mainly covers the parking. Because airport parking here in Minneapolis, you get what I mean. MSP airport is usually like $30 max per day. I just calculated that on both ends, $60, and then gave myself chicken change. It works out for me. So basically, when the renter leaves the car, they goes to pick up the car and drive it out the garage. They say that they're here for Turo, and then it deducts it from my earnings. It works out very well, so I'm not losing money. But honestly, I prefer that people pick up the car from the garage. That way it's hands-free and I don't have to meet them. Because another thing, if you are doing delivery or doing pickups that require you to shake people's hands, people are going to show up late. And again, can't have that to piss you off. So I always advocate for remote pickups and drop-offs if possible. If your gut allows it, great. It will be the best thing ever. It will save you so much time. So there you go. Now, before every trip, there's a thing. You have to go through a car wash. Lucky for me, there's a thing called Holiday. Make sure you do touchless washes. I have PPF basically on the entire front of my car and ceramic coatings. So I go through a touchless wash. I make sure the interior is clean. So I actually have a leather cleaner that I spray across the entire vehicle. I clean the whole vehicle down, and that works pretty well for me. So that's what I do. Then I just leave it plugged in at the ramp. And then from there, again, they call me, I unlock the car remotely, key fob is in there, there's a little pass saying, hey, this will let you badge in and out of the garage, and it's set. It works just like that. Nothing crazy, you know? It's pretty simple. Expenses, $6 for a car wash. Charging, $130 a month. You're charging $130 a day times, you rent it out 2 or 3 times a month. It gets pretty good, doesn't it? And that covers your car payment, maybe even gives you some profit. I know other people, they try and do all this. The main thing, lower your expenses. See, that's one thing that I'm so grateful that I used to work at a hedge fund, because I've learned so many things from it. Honestly, I used to think I was a big boy when I was driving this car, but now This car is just a wasting assets, depreciating assets. So let's keep that in mind. I'm now happily driving a 2012 GTI. I love it. I hate paying for gas, but that car is a lot more fun than this. This is just gonna be my long distance car. If I'm driving to Chicago, I'm taking this guy just because it has autopilot and it's cheaper to drive that. So at least for fuel. So yeah, you get that. Anyways, thanks again for listening. I hope I was a lot more enthusiastic in this video. Thanks again for listening. I'm probably gonna be doing the XPS 13 Plus review next, and stay tuned and please subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks.